right, first things first, know that we are cutting white foam. It can get kind of messy, so make sure you have a trash can or trash bag handy, and a vacuum may be helpful as well. So we're going to start out with our block of foam. We're going to use the handy cardboard cutters. You can use other tools, but I recommend these. These are pretty nice. I'm using the ruler to just kind of mark out some spaces that are some marks that are either centered, or I'm not really using specific measurements. I'm just trying to make sure that it's symmetrical and even. So I'm just going to draw the lines on with my marker. I like using a marker because it's much easier to see. You can take a lot of creative license with this shape, so go crazy with that. When you cut the pieces off though, keep the scraps. We're going to need those for holding the motor bracket. So I'm going to draw out a shape for the back, and I'm going to cut this little piece off. Again, you have some creative license here, but these are kind of optimal for holding the motor in place. They don't have to be too terribly tall. I cut them a little bit tall here, so I'll cut some off there. And we'll be gluing those on the back and sort of sandwiching that bracket in place. Now when I make a mark there where the bracket is, I'm going to start to carve that out, and what I'm trying to do is carve a ramp facing downward toward the back of the boat. You see that I'm sort of carving into that and pushing through. This is something that you kind of have to be a little careful with by not cutting too much, but you'll see though that I have a slant toward the back, and it holds my bracket in place nicely. So once that's done, I want to glue these pieces in place. So I'm using low temperature hot glue, dropping some glue on the bottom of those, holding it in place, making sure that I got it nice and cooled and in tightly before I get too far. Now I'm going to cut something on the front, and this is going to be for holding the switch in place. It also adds just a cool shape to the boat. So a couple of pieces glued together and cut at kind of a wedge shape, and then pasted on the front. I'm going to trace out the shape of the point of the boat and cut those off of the piece as well. Once I have that in place, I'm going to attach the switch to that. And remember, you can have quite a bit of license on this if you want to make a different kind of a shaped boat. But overall, this is ideal for holding the motor and holding the switch as well. Now sanding is optional here. This kind of foam sands pretty well. It's a little messy, but it does smooth it off real nice and makes it surprisingly smooth, and you can kind of shape the hull into a little more of an organic shape. And there's kind of an advantage in how that may move through the water if you do it right. So I think it looks really nice after sanding, so I highly recommend that, but it's certainly not necessary. Your hull is done. Let's move on.